Choose your journey. It's time. It's time to walk the path to peace. Elevate your potential and become a beacon of positive change. Your path brought you here for a reason. Dive in. Embrace the power of collective growth and unlock the masterpiece of your life. The path to peace awaits.
Ready for Gaia?
How can we be resilient in a world that's growing more volatile by the day? How can we thrive?
Don't buy into the fear. It's about waking up.
Explore the world's largest library of conscious media with thousands of films and original programs.
People all over the planet are waking up.
Gaia is ready for you.
We can adapt our lifestyle to this time of extremes.
For the seekers,
inside, he was able to detect the fetus of some creature. It is clear by scientists that it's something different. It is not human.
The wanderers.
In ancient times, the Atlanteans were said to have an advanced technology and power supply based on crystals.
The dreamers.
My dream is to help people understand how the universe operates, so that each person can find their own unique purpose within the cosmic plan.
And the doers.
Thoughts can have an effect on your brain, your body, and your life. And I'm going to show you how to rewire your mind, your heart, and your body.
For those who dare to travel their own path.
Our potential to access the supermind is no longer simply theoretical. How can we hack our history to change our future?
We are meant to learn again and again in this life that truth does indeed set us free.
Now we are proposing a new beginning, a new history for human beings.
All right. You know, every time I see the Gaia intro, as you know, there are sponsors and love being in partnership with them and everything that we're doing. But every time I see their infomercial or commercial when they're coming in, I truly see something different. And it's so awesome being with them, because I've come into this place where I truly see myself in entirety, everything that I've taught, everything that I've been through. And when I just saw that one, Seek the Truth, you know, that is such a huge thing to me, is that the more that I seek the truth in everything in my life, the more I'm free. Because as soon as the truth shows up, it's like, okay, now I have to choose. Which way am I going to go? How am I going to move? Because here's the facts. And so I'm constantly a truth seeker, because it just continues to set me free and living into so many things. It's like, you know, I went and saw my friend today over at a dealership, and he's like, Sid, how do you still look younger than you did when you came here in 2019? Don't always believe what people tell you, because You do not have to age the way people tell you that you have to. Just go seek the truth. I feel like I'm just an example of that. Seek the truth, and the truth will set you free. I'm so excited about tonight, and I'm going to get to spend a little time with Pam as Jennifer gets everything sorted out with technology. Yet I want to revisit where we've been. We started off with Lauren as we normally do, and go into all the things that we're covering for the month, and then we have Jason and Emily and Liz come in, and we talk about all things relationships, whether it's relationships with people outside of your intimate relationship, outside of your family, and all into the next place in that way. And then we follow up on that third week with Aaron and Liz, where we talk about all things within education and within schools and how to lift up the next generation. And I'm always excited about this one because we kind of round off the month with, okay, now let's take it forward into the business world and how we're doing one-on-one business as entrepreneurs, or how we've done corporate things, or however it shows up in business. And what we're looking at this month, and we continue to focus on right now, is what is the art of peaceful living? Art of peaceful living. It's how you live your life in an artful way that brings peace forward. And that's part of what this is about. This is an opportunity for every person to go into the art of peaceful living and take in and go into the tools of how to do it. And each month we're going to continue to grow on this playbook to peace to help you evolve. And we've also talked about living in an appropriateness. Everything came from the creator of everything. So everything was created in a way to resemble love in some way. So living in appropriateness says, okay, there's going to be times that I may need to be more protective, and too much protection can often look like being mean. So learning to be appropriate. Being mean, the opposite of being mean is to be humble or kind. But too much of that, you can begin to look like a victim. So learning how to be in that appropriateness as we move through things. And that's what we're here to do, is help everyone who tunes in or tunes in later, or that you share with your family or your friends. We want to make sure that everyone is getting an opportunity to learn about peace, things that I didn't necessarily have put into my reality in the beginning, but I want to share these things so we can all do our part to bring the world to peace. And that's what this truly is about. And we've got some other things that we've talked about throughout the month, and we'll bring those in this conversation. And let's go ahead and get started and bring Pam on up here. What's up, Pam? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. And if I could share with you that I'm working on that walking and talking a thought, that I am aging in reverse. So I'm working on the aging thing too with my thoughts.
I love it. I love it. Especially like when I look at, part of my makeup and learning along this journey has been from the Yoga Sutras, because I've spent so much time in yoga. And in the Yoga Sutras, if you focus on one of the yamas or the niyamas, which are like the moral codes of the Yoga Sutras, if you focus on one thing, all the other things come up. So like you saying, okay, I'm now focusing on living and turning the clock back, right? Which I constantly talk about with myself. If you focus on that, you will begin to practice ahimsa, which is peace. You'll begin to practice ways to take care of yourself. You'll start to do all those things. And so really focusing on this one thing, eventually you'll even look at, all right, what's the food that I put in, or the liquids that I put in, and how are those things turning? So all you got to do is really focus on one thing. And sometimes it can even be, some people get upset when they're thinking about how, especially when it's business, right? Business, often we have to look at, all right, what is our way to make money? What is our way? Without money, you're not doing business. You've got a hobby at best. And it may be a failing hobby if you're not making money in business. And in that sense, it's like, okay, now if someone said, I'm just going to focus on money, eventually they have to start looking, which I think the world kind of is getting in that place. They have to start looking at, okay, how do I take all this money and start putting it places to help other people? Eventually, no matter what you chase, if you chase it far enough and you go after it fully and embodied, it will begin to open up things in the name of everything else too. And so I think that for me, it allows me the space to let go of judgment of somebody else and let them really look at, all right, how are you living into your own life and destiny? And is it serving your highest purpose? And as soon as I started looking at that, it didn't really matter which way I was going. It's like, okay, all roads lead to peace. And when I have peace, then I get out of the illusion that anything would be anything other than love from the creator. So thank you for letting us all know that that's what you're doing. You know, the thing that I got going today, I'm enamored with this tea that I'm drinking right now. And I have a lot of different teas that come in and out of my life. And that's really I gave up alcohol 18 years ago, so I'm no longer a beer connoisseur. I let go of sugar, so I can with sugar removed. And I used to try to be a root beer guy. So I'd be like, yeah, let me go find a good root beer. But I realized how much sugar I was putting in my body. So now root beer is gone. So tea is it. That's what I got. It's one of nature's natural things. So I'm chasing teas. And this one tonight, it's been in my cabinet. I have loose and tea bags of what is it? Oh man, I can't believe it's in a little tea bag. It's green and it's namaste.
No way.
Yeah, namaste tea. Yes. It's hitting the spot. Oh no, it's not. I don't know. It'll come to me because it's a yellow bag with a green. I have namaste teas too, but this is a green herbal mate. Mate. That's it. Herbal mate. And it is the dopest. I love it. Just add some lemon and just sip on it all night. So I'm not letting it go far. It's right here.
Well, it's great when tea can make you happy too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everything makes me happy right now. Even the worst things, like the worst things that could possibly come my way. I'm like, man, I feel so good that I'm at peace with that. It's a beautiful thing. And it's such a good practice. So my first question that I really want to start with is, what comes up that challenges the peace at work, in the work atmosphere for you? And I know you're in a different atmosphere than you used to be. So let's go into the corporate part of you being on the Hill and what used to challenge your peace the most there.
Well, I have been focused on heart-centered leadership and really about addressing the economic and human impact of all this change on our future, especially on our kids. And so the two things together are a whole. And I carried, when I worked, I'll tell you, on the Hill, and then I'll share something else with you about my reflection. But people didn't focus when I worked on the Hill. That people didn't focus on the whole person. They focused on basically the profit. If it was a business, it would have been, we're focused on profit over people. And that's a lot about what I am entertaining tonight. Like, your questions brought that forward for me in a big way. And getting to the point where we learn to connect with people. Like, if I go back and talk about the Hill, it's a whole nother thing, Sid, from what would disturb my peace, because my peace was disturbed every hour of the day there, because my job was to put out fires. So it was, luckily, the way I live and work is for every problem, there's a solution. So I didn't always necessarily freak out about everything, but I did freak out about a lot of things. But I guess
hold on. Let's dive into that. I love that. Being the fire stopper, right? Like, and I would imagine on the Hill there are fires every other moment, right, if you want to look for them, right? And so, and yet there are people that actually work in that atmosphere, right? So now they have fires all the time.
Yep.
Everyone brings the problems to you. They rarely. I mean, I remember our coach, Joe Novak, he used to be like, all right, guys, when you bring me something, bring me the solution. Don't bring me the problem. If all you have is the problem, stop and find a solution and let's talk about the solutions where we're going forward. So
Mhm.
I'm curious as to how that worked for you, and what could someone adapt for themselves when they're always being brought a fire.
Well, our press secretary at one point had a saying, because you can always get stumped by the press every other minute. And he had a saying, if something happens and you said something and you're not sure, come and tell me, because it's water over the bridge. Nobody's going to get punished. We're just going to figure out how to fix it. And so I wasn't a big fan of speaking with the media, but that helped me a lot. And I, do the same thing with other people, especially raising my kids. I was like that. I was like, I'm not going to get mad, but you got to tell me what you broke, basically, so we can figure out how to fix it.
I love that. I love that. Because sometimes someone may be lost in the fire that's been started, and they may not know how to put it out. Yet, for me, and I agree, probably the greatest place of for me that it came through was in that space of being the greatest CEO of my house, right? Raising my children. That was the greatest time of being a CEO for me, for making sure when I look at the success of them now, that was my greatest job as a person, was to nurture the environment that allowed my children to thrive in a way that they became really sustainable on their own, which to me, in the name of business, kind of looks like, okay, me as the leader, I try to stay in touch with everybody's goals. Where do they want to go? Now, if the company, no matter what level of company or team, if the company wins, everybody wins and moves up. And now people may actually leave because in order to launch from that place, they may grow into their own company, their own team, or whatever. And so I think it's awesome if people come together when the fires are started and look for the wins together. And now, something that may seem like a simple place for a company, it may be like, hey, we just lost our biggest client. Okay, well, if you lost your biggest client, how are you going to come together to find the next client or recover that client? And in the midst of recovery or finding the next client together, everyone wins. And it may just give the niche for the person who's helping that win come forward, have their own place to go in business. And so I like that as a way of looking and thinking, for sure.
The other thing was the collaboration. You're putting out fires, and you need more than just your team. Like, you have a legislative team, but you need like the press team and the admin team or the committee team, or other offices. The collaboration was really important. And boy, when somebody would, I will say, infiltrate that with negative intentions to undermine it, that would steal my peace. And that did happen.
Yeah, there's something too, kind of in the art of peaceful living, is building up that team, the people that you count on, they count on you, and moving as a unit. I know Ryan, who's always in the background running this show, like, it's our team. Like, it's not Sid's show, even though I'm the logo of the name, or the person that's often in front of different things. It's everybody. And I know that when I go up and the next thing is, like in the name of my yoga studios, I had 11 people that became ambassadors for Lululemon. Well, I had to keep growing in that space so that I could help others be that. And I think that's such an important thing, is to be there for everyone on the team. And I want to bring Jennifer in, and now that it seems like this part of our team has got technology rolling in her way. So what's up? How are you?
Hi. See, we talk about peace. Technology, you know how that has. Lord.
The thing about it, though, is peace, or technology and peace. It's interesting to me that when I used to be frazzled about technology, which was a lack of peace, my technology didn't work. Now that I'm like, all right, let me just align this thing, it flows through, and here you are. Now it's over. You're here, so we can just be here
Like
and
you
move
said,
into this.
no problems, just solutions.
Right on, right on. Exactly, exactly. All right, let's move into the second question and see where it goes. But what does it mean, and we'll let Jennifer go first, what does it mean to move from appropriateness in work and business?
You said appropriateness?
Yes.
That means a lot for a lot of different, I mean, it's not just my career. There's many different careers, and appropriateness is is really just kind of a state of mind, I believe. A state of mind, a shift in perspective. We talked about finding peace within ourselves, and if we don't have that shift in perspective, there is no appropriateness. You really have to dig deep to find. I mean, I think we talked about in our peace program about there's a right time and a right place for the things that we do, and how it reflects in my, I mean, I always remain professional no matter where I'm at in my life, because my name is my brand. And we have to just be appropriate and true to
So let me
ourselves.
ask you. Here's the scenario. Um appropriateness. Now I say everything when it's appropriate is appropriate. Everything. So what does it look like in the workplace to be in appropriate relation with someone else in every way? Like it could be, I mean, and nowadays it could be me talking to Ryan, it could be me talking to one of you. There's an appropriateness, and it can go across so many different lines now. What does that look like in the atmosphere to either one of you? And
Well, I
go
think
ahead.
for when we talk about appropriateness, the thing that's coming forward for me is boundaries. Healthy boundaries, no matter where you're at in your life, within yourself, within the people who, how you interact with other people, and that appropriateness, especially in my business. There's a lack of appreciation for boundaries in all aspects of life. And for me, boundaries are very healthy. And it's something that a lot of people don't think about on a daily basis. It's something that is really, it's imperative to who we are, especially in growth in no in all aspects of life. So when you talk about appropriateness, what's coming forward for me is setting clear and healthy boundaries.
Hmm. I like that. I like the idea of boundaries, and I'm gonna jump to Pam with this one, then come back to you. As both of you have been in business for more than a year. We'll just go with that. And and so what does it look like when for when you were earlier in your career and someone says something that could toe that line of, all right, they're giving a compliment versus a possibility of making a pass. How does someone, because I think it's important for someone to know when they go into a business place how to hold those boundaries and still protect their job. Man, what you got?
The answer to that question is that I didn't put up with that. And I stood my ground. And if somebody was inappropriate to me in the ways that you're bringing forward, I spoke about it in that moment. And, it's an uncomfortable place to be for anybody to have to do that. But it was necessary. And I feel like I created those boundaries really young, like in my first jobs, not just in the later jobs. But yeah, that's just said no. I didn't play around with it at all.
Yeah, I get that. And how does all right, Pam, wow, I really love your necklace.
Thanks. That's great.
Now, see, that seems very harmless to me.
Yeah, me too.
Right? And there we go with my somehow my camera just starts doing all different types of signs when it's like, oh yeah, Sid, we think you're right on with that one. I don't know where it comes from, it just does. So with that being said, how does one know if that's appropriate or not.
Are you asking me?
Okay,
Because I think I just think you get to know people. I think you get to know people, and I think that you get to know, the more we focus on knowing each other as human beings and connect in new ways, the more we'll understand the boundaries. And society and culture are redefining boundaries now out loud. The ones that we had to do and had to define in basically silence, are being more defined out loud. So yeah, when you talked about appropriateness, I actually had different thoughts in mind in related to the peace program. And it does come into play a little bit with this, but really, I was thinking about the extremes. I was thinking about, when you talk about appropriateness, you talk about one extreme or the other, and how in today's workplace, there's a real switch to go from just focusing on profit to focusing on people. And that has something to do with what you're talking about before. But if you focus too much on profit, you're really probably abusing your people. If you focus too much on people, you're not going to have a profit. So where do you meet and where do you balance in the middle? And where do you find that middle ground? And it's really, for me, focuses on all those things about how we open up to new ways to connect and create community, and we pay attention to each other as human beings. Like, that human part is about recognizing like the whole person and respecting them at work, which gets to your boundaries. It's respecting them so that they want to be more engaged. Because if they're more engaged, you're going to make more money and they're going to be happier at work and at home. So that's what, like, the appropriateness was bringing up for me, in addition to the boundaries, or just beyond those boundaries.
Awesome. Jennifer, do you have anything to add to that? Hey, hold on. Dr. Lauren, what's up to you? Glad you're here and look forward to next week with you. And good evening to you, my beautiful friend. Oh, don't want to be inappropriate. Go for it, Jennifer. Over to you.
Okay, so it's kind of funny that you're bringing this up today, because this is something that's come forward for me a lot lately, especially with running a lot of content on social media. I get a lot of that negative attention that I don't want, especially in business. And I draw those really real boundary lines and say, this is a conflict of interest. This is my professional profile. This is not a dating app, and I'm not looking to date. So I get that quite often. But you can usually tell, like you complimented Pam's necklace, you can usually tell just by somebody's energy whether or not they're giving you a true compliment versus being inappropriate. So, and it's more difficult through text because that lacks emotion, and through content. But um, I feel that it's just something that we have to navigate. It's just human nature. It's going to happen. And, but like Pam had mentioned, that connection, you want to have those true connections with people, but it's just reading people and reading their energy and really understanding and drawing those boundaries and connections at the same time. It's a fine dance. It really is. But at the end of the day, you just have to make it very clear your position in the power that you stand in.
Yeah, I like that. And I like where we're going here, because when I think about one of the topics of this month, and it's love, peace, and illusion, right? So, peace is this foundation that gives access to love that's up here. When there is no peace, we fall below this line, this foundation, into this illusion of that is really based in fear of everything that's happened in the past. And so I see that as we talk about this being living in appropriateness, and it's like, okay, when peace is missing, are you able to see the illusion that comes from fear? Because for me, a lot of times what I see with people is that they've already made this judgment based on something that's happened in their life before or something that they've heard, but they haven't yet even come close to knowing, is this the situation now? It's like, yes, I compliment Pam's necklace. And if she had an experience of somebody saying something about a necklace or going to her necklace and heck stealing a necklace or whatever that may be, she could already have this illusion that I am threatening her. And that's an important piece to me, is that people recognize, is this a real or an imagined threat? Like, if it's a real threat, then something may have already taken place that begins to move this into a place that I'm really unsafe. If it's an imagined threat, like people with social distance, we now know what that is. The pandemic should have taught everybody to stay off my back when I'm in a movie line. You don't need to be right up on me. Like, that's not it. That becomes closer to a real threat, because you now can put your hands on me. We can keep some distance here. Let's just keep that social distance. I'm good with that. I didn't need to know that with the pandemic, because I just was like, you can keep your distance. Like, that's it. It can become a real threat in that way. And so I see that in that way, like really looking at, okay, what is it that says in this moment, when is peace missing, and how can I see this illusion and not get caught up in the fear or not? So you have anything to add to that? Go for it.
This reminds me of the iceberg, where the positive stuff is above above the frozen ice, and below it is all the negative stuff. And how in a work environment, like I would put encouragement, like a culture of encouragement up in the top part of that, because that's going to come from love. But the opposite, what might not be seen, that's in contrast to that down below, would be punishment, like getting punished in different ways for not doing work the way somebody wanted you to do it, or not doing your part as part of a team. And instead of getting encouragement or guidance or mentorship on it, you get punished for it. And the mindset of an employee is going to be very different if they're working with someone who's just going to punish them. There's going to be a lot of fear around failure and not getting it right. And you're really going to stymie a lot of creativity and opportunity for a company or an organization.
I love that. I love that. Jennifer, anything to add?
I think, we talk about a lot of times that our peace can be interrupted by somebody's reaction or actions towards us. But it doesn't have to do with us. It has to do with them. And that's, for me, if somebody creates a reaction out of me, or a thought that makes me think, okay, do I need to be reactive to this? Usually I think that now, especially being in the peace program, it's caused me to really stand back and say, okay, is this about you? Is this about me? We talked about that in the last episode. But I don't allow people to shake my peace. I just don't. And being in business, and I don't care if you work in a corporation or work on your own, being in business or is any type of professional, you can't have thin skin. You have to have thick skin. I mean, that's just the end of it. Or you're not going to make it. You have to have thick skin, and you have to have, like I said, those boundaries. I mean, there's a whole other conversation we can have to this, but it's definitely, you can't be thin-skinned in business, and you can't allow people to shake you off your axis.
Yeah.
So that there is no disillusion for me. What I see is what I see, and what I feel is what I feel, and I assess, is this me or is this you? And if it's you, then that's where those strong boundaries have to go up. And I usually, if something like this happens, I usually address it right away. I don't allow it to fester. I clear it, and like we talked about the clearing, I'm constantly clearing.
Now, here's something that comes up for me. Now, I never said what this is. right? Like I've never said what this is. I talked about Pam's necklace and her necklace being beautiful and all the different things. I never said exactly what this is. The fact that the three of us know that there is a this says that, to me, that's all based on the past, because we've all been in some type of experience of what we think right now we're talking about as a unit, as this. Yet we don't know that. And so for me, when it comes to moving into spaces with other people, I have to first relinquish the fact that I think this could be anything like I've ever experienced, because it's not necessarily going to be there. And I think that's an important part of it, that as I look at it, you know, when I take responsibility that everything comes from a thought. So if my thoughts are based on the past all the time, I'm going to continue to get what I'm thinking about, and I don't even know if it's coming in the foreground and in the future for myself. And so I think that's important to recognize that if I'm carrying all the old thoughts, all the old fears, all the old illusions, the imagined threats, if I'm carrying them with me as a backpack, it's coming with me. I can put that down and just come into the future and like say, okay, what's possible? What's possible from this person that may have been this way yesterday, and how are they going to be going forward? Especially, you know, I come from one of the greatest platforms of business to me is professional and collegiate sports, because you win or lose, it's everybody knows it. People can tell you about your job that ain't ever even been in your job, but they can tell you like they're professionals at your job because they've all watched it all their life. They've studied what they think you should do, and it's easier to say, "Oh, that one didn't work. I wouldn't have called that play on fourth down." Like it's easy to do all those things. So now the real is, okay, it didn't work. Now what do I do? And I may come up against it. And next time, the best play to call may be to do exactly what I did before, because I know why it didn't work before. So now I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to see what comes in the future that likely will be success on the other side. So I kind of want to bring that forward, that people really look at, okay, what are you carrying baggage from the past that is causing these imagined threats, that has caused a reaction versus making a choice? When people make these decisions based on their past, they've already canceled what actually could be the solution going forward. And I think that's just an important part of stepping into the art of peaceful living. Says, I no longer need to play God. I no longer need to think everything's going to be the way it was when I was in my past, because I was younger and I got hurt with this, or all those different things. And that applies to the business world and to life in general. And I think that's just an important thing. Pam, you got anything?
Well, the way that is coming to me is how leaders today have to do so much more work on themselves to get in the place where they're going to be a leader in the 21st century. Like to be, if they aren't connected from their heart with who they are, they're not going to connect on any authentic level with the people who are around them. And that is something that is different in leadership between the 20th century and the 21st century. And I got to tell you this funny thing, you know, I've been focused for more than a decade on education leaders and business leaders. And I forgot where I was going with that. Tell me what I was just saying.
You were in the 21st century.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. So the businesses were complaining, and it's for decades now, that the students are coming out of schools and they don't have soft skills. And they can show up for an interview and they can't even do an interview. And this is true, and this has gotten worse over the decades. Well, Harvard came out with a study in 2022 about what leaders need in the 21st century. And they're like, today's leaders have to get upskill on soft skills. They must have empathy, communication, and listening in their toolbox. And to me, I was like, you know, yay, now the tide has been turned. Everything they're saying they want, now they need to be it. They need to mentor it. They need to show it. And not just, you know, they need to do it within their workforce, because then it penetrates down to the people when you leave the work, you know, when you leave your work, if someone's been treating you decently with gratitude and encouragement and stuff, you're going to be happier when you go home with your family. So there's an impact all the way down the chain of this. So I think it's great that it's been called out that our leaders need soft skills too. They need to come from the heart as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important to just go back to that first month of listening as the number one thing for me that has been access point to knowing my foundation of peace and where it's been built. You know, even as we talk about this one of looking back at the past and falling into this illusion of fear, it's important to be able to listen, especially to me. What's going on up here that's causing me to say, okay, this is what this person looks like. I can only see through my own eyes, everything that I see. So if I see something that looks like anger, it's only because I relate to the anger from somewhere behind me. So now I'm seeing it that way, when actually it could be that person protecting themselves. It could be that person throwing up something that says, no, you don't. Jennifer talked about boundaries. Sometimes that can look like anger and can be the biggest support for the person in it. We cannot get rid of some of these things that we think, oh, no, you shouldn't be that way. Well, yes, if you come in my house, I promise you're going to find anger if I didn't invite you. That's real. That's called protection. So I can't just say, oh, I'm just going to let go of everything that's ever been anything negative in my life, because actually that will cut off some part of me and I will no longer be whole, which then says I will no longer have access to being holistic in this pursuit of peace. Jennifer, what you got? You got on mic.
You keep micing me, and then I forget to unmic. What's coming forward for me is that boundaries are created by discipline, and peace is a journey. It's not a destination. So for me personally, I don't allow people to affect my peace. I just don't. I can't say that it's not always being tested, but that discipline is what keeps me in that place of peace. And it doesn't matter where I'm at in my life. When we talk about, you know, peace in the workplace and just peace in general, peace is something that we have inside that it's a state of consciousness. And if we don't have discipline in how we utilize that consciousness of peace, then we're really not in peace. And it doesn't matter where we are in life. And I'll tell you, like I said, there's always somebody testing my peace. Just last week. And you know, it's funny because I've seen the growth within myself. There's one specific person that challenged my peace and called me a coward because I chose to not be reactive. You can call me whatever you want, because first of all, when we talk about, you know, what the person behind me is doing, well, that don't have nothing to do with me. Because that's you. What has to do with me is me and the people that I love and care about. Even sometimes I'm like, that doesn't have anything to do with me. So I just let it be. And I don't allow it. I don't allow it to push me off my axis. But like I said, that state of consciousness and that state of being and who I am today is impenetrable. You know, you can't penetrate that. And it's a work in progress, trust me. Especially last week, because don't come at me with calling me a coward, because the old Jennifer would have, you know, she wouldn't have had that. But you know what, at the end of the day, I look back at that situation and I said I did the right thing by not engaging. I'm not going to engage somebody who's not in my level or in alignment with who I am and at that place that I am, because people are all going to be on their own level. They may not be at my level, they may be at my level, but Not that day.
I get that. I love for me it's part of the art of peaceful living is knowing what it looks like to be on the peace scale. You know, am I at a place of zero peace? Fortunately for me, that has long been gone from my life of hitting that level of depression, really. Like two or lower on a scale of 1 to 10, zero being absolutely no peace, two or lower, you're falling in that space of depression. And then it goes, from 2 till 8 is okay, it's just moving. You're kind of riding the waves of your emotions in those times, and emotions, energy and motion. And then moving up from 9 and 10 is like, okay, now I've gotten to a place where it's really become embodied that nothing, no wave, no matter where it comes from, is taking me out. That 10 hitting 100% peace, is it possible to stay there forever? Sure. I did it when I was hanging out 3, 4 days, 3 nights on the mountains, no food or water, nothing to worry about, just animals that didn't care about me or want to be near me. And so then it was like, okay, 100% peace, sitting there for 4 days, and then coming out and being in the world. So it happens. That movement from 9 to 10 allows me to know, oh, wait a minute, I'm losing some peace. I've dropped down into 9. And now, hold on, what do I need to do to get back to that 10, to that 100% peace? And so that's my dance now, having it, knowing what it looks like. And I love, for me, I look at it like searching for the perfect wave. As somebody that surfs, and you don't have to be a great surfer, just go get out on the waves. When the waves come, if I'm in that space of 2 to 8, I get knocked over, tossed around, moved all over the place. But if I'm in that place of 10, then when the big wave comes, it may be coming up over my head, and it's like, oh, just go under and let yourself come back up. And that's the same thing in life. Like I use that analogy as I'm moving through life constantly. It's like I'm surfing from one thing to the next. And it's like, okay, even if it's in business, let's say a boss comes or somebody comes and a customer comes and they're upset about something. And it's like, okay, here comes the wave. I'm at 100% peace. Oh, just took me down to the 9. Let me ride in through this one just to come back up. And that, I think, if people start to really look at that for themselves, your peace scale, 0 to 10, check in with it often and see where it's dancing. And I want to move into lesson 8 that is for this week. And lesson 8 is about being in the power in the present. And really, what does that reflection look like? We're always working with reflections everywhere we go. If I'm looking at one of you and I get triggered or I have a conflict, that's in here. That's not either one of you. I don't care what you do. That's you. You could have picked your clothes. You all got the memo. We all have on some black, but I threw a little orange in there. One of you is upset. And actually, somehow Pam has the orange on her necklace. See, that's why I thought the necklace was pretty. I didn't even realize why. Like all of these different things. Now all of a sudden Jennifer could be like, well, I didn't know about an orange necklace. And that could have pissed her off, but nothing really happened. And so it's important to see the reflection of how things are happening in our lives, because if I'm okay with it, looking at my own reflection in either one of you, when I'm truly okay in here, I see from the eyes of compassion. I might be like, oh, Jennifer had a moment today, or Pam had to go see her parents last week, or whatever it may be. And now all of a sudden it's a different relationship. And that's why it's so important for everyone to do their own work. And I'm curious as how the reflection part of it shows up in your own lives, and especially at work.
Can I respond on that?
Yeah.
Because there's something that really just came forward that was really eye-opening for me. Is it because we're in competition or in conflict with ourselves? Are we in conflict with ourselves or in competition of others? Why does life have to be a competition? Just live in the space that you're in, bring your most authentic self, and stop competing with others.
I like that reflection. Pam, what do you got?
Yeah, the way that I reflect on this is living in the present moment is something that I have learned to do. And I had to let go of the past. And in the past, I thought I had to fix everything and make everything perfect. And that was exhausting. You know, I hit a brick wall at one point on that one. And then I was also worried about the future. What about this? What about that scenario? What about that circumstance? It was an exhausting place to live. And over a couple of decades of working on myself and really stepping into the present, like I know I'm in that present moment when I'm looking in the mirror. And so whatever it is I'm feeling from someone around me or a situation or something that's happening, I'm looking within myself to see what is it within me that is causing me to feel this way. Not the past that I want to carry and not worrying about the future, but just what it is that I need to work out inside of me. And that's been really powerful for me. And that keeps me in the present moment. And it also is a tool for helping me to move forward and stay out of my own way, basically.
Yeah, I love that. And Argusa said the dynamic of relationships are constantly evolving and uh, devolving. Being able to adjust and adapt is key. And that truly is it. You know, I don't think anything, well, there's one law in the universe, and that law is everything changes. And so no matter where I am, I know that it's going to shift. No matter how great it is, no matter how whatever it may be. I'm not even going to say that because I'm not creating that in my own life. Yet, no matter where I am, it is constantly going to change. So, the more that I'm let go of this idea that I need to be attached to something, you know, or push away from something else, it's like I've talked about it often that pleasure and pain are one and the same. They both bring us to misery. When I'm attached to the pleasure, eventually the pleasure is going to change, and then I'll fall into that place of misery. Most people already know when they're miserable, they are miserable. When they're in pain, most people are in that state of misery. I fell in love with pain in my life. I went through so much pain that I truly got at peace with pain. And now when it comes in my body, now I'm like, yeah, I see you. And this is going to be great on the other side of this pain. And it goes away like that because I'm not holding on to it. And the same thing when I've been blessed. Just got home, and on the way home, this modern day, they called and said, "Hey, Sid, the car you've been looking for, we've got it," and all these different things. And I said, "All right, cool." And at the same time of getting the car, rejoicing in it, I'm like, "All right, it's just a car. Do I have to have it? No. If it were to be gone, I'll be fine. And I'm not attached to it." So it gives me that sense of peace no matter what comes in, whether it's a pleasure or a pain, and I get to flow from one thing to the next. And as we begin to wind up, I'd love to hear from each of you just something you'll be taking with you. And Pam, since you started, why don't you go first, and then we'll go over to Jennifer.
Something I'm taking with me is really all the growth that's been happening over the past year and a half since I was introduced to the art of peaceful living has really moved my peace scale. Like when I first met you on the audio app, not even in person, but together in a leadership room every day, I say my peace was probably a 7 or 8. And I thought that was a good life. And I have now found myself living between an 8 and a 10, and at a 9 and a 10 a lot of the times. But knowing that I have a lot of growth to continue every day of my life, in my work, in my friendships, in my family, and that I'm going to continue to go down, and maybe I'll drop below an 8 once in a while, but that I have been able to elevate that much through the process of being a part of a community like the Art of Peaceful Living, which really helps it to become a practice. For me, it's a practice within the process of life. And thanks. I'm not one of those.
Jennifer, what do you got? You got on mic again.
That's funny. I'm going to get little popsicle sticks with the things because I want to be able to do that. So there's this theory or this thought that has really been the one thing that I've learned the most through this journey that I've been on. And, we talk about living in peace, and a lot of people don't even know what that is. But I'm going to explain this in the most simplest term, or in the most simplest form, for people to really get it. Stress is the number one thing that will make our bodies just completely short circuit. Time is the only thing that we can't purchase. But if you can get rid of stress, peace is free. And if you can get rid of the stress through finding peace, you get back more time. That's priceless. So when I think about my life in its entirety, in my life before finding the place that I am now, I have realized that it's not important to sweat the small stuff. I don't sweat the small stuff anymore. And it's so important to just really sit back and think, is this really worth it? Is it really worth taking my piece down a notch? It really isn't, because I need more time. I'm not getting any younger. And, like I said, time is the only thing that we cannot purchase, but you can if you find peace. So I really love this whole movement and everything that I've worked on with the Art of Peaceful Living and the Peace Program, and all of the beautiful people that I've met along this journey, because it's really given me my life back. And it's really just simple, because peace is free. You just have to really want it.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. And thank you both. And thank you both for being here tonight. Look forward to many moments to come, and everything that comes forward. And as we wrap up tonight, thank you all for tuning in. It's really always a pleasure to have this time. I love Monday nights. I really do. I love spending time with everybody. Please head over to sidmcnairy.com or artofpeacefulliving.com and know that you can come and join us. We practice peace every day, where everyone who comes in can tune in, come and speak and get connected. 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Fridays on LinkedIn. You can come check us out there, where we just have a community. This is about community. I mean, you heard about Jennifer's places that she's moved through, and Pam has been such a fixture in helping people learn and move in different ways. And everybody that's part of this series, part of this show, is part of this community. And come in. We all connect. We all grow together. And it's up to each and every one of us to do the work that will affect the whole world to come. It's up to us to leave the world in a better place for the next 7 generations to come. I'm grateful for the time that is spent with each and every one of you, and look forward to seeing you one day in person, as I've met everybody that comes through here in person now. And I love that. And so thank you. Have a beautiful night. We look forward to seeing you next week at 8:30 with Rise with Sid McNairy. Have a beautiful night. Peace.